What's up, everyone? I'm still waking up. I'm Ethan. Not, just dropped. Welcome to the Ethan and Jenna Show. I'm your host, Ethan, and alongside me is Jenna Belk. Jenna, how's it going?
Hello, going pretty good. All things considered.
Damn it.
I think.
There we go.
I guess today our topic is activism. Right? It's a little hard to keep up sometimes because when you're doing so much, like some people we know, doing like 12 shows and 50 interviews a week and just raking in all the money for all these nonprofits and being like a atheist saint, it's hard, right?
Well, thank you, Jenna. Yeah, and you know what the funny part is? I have now just created 2 more shows that I'm working on. So every month is now going to be Atheist Entertainment Night. So it started 3 months ago with our movie review of the atheist religion. And then I'm like, let's do this every 3 months. And we did it again last night. But then over the past week, I'm like, screw this. We could do a monthly rotating thing. So we'll do atheist trivia night, game night, karaoke night. So next month is going to be atheist Star Wars trivia night.
Oh,
So I'm still getting the people together, but I'm pretty excited. And then got another show I'm working on with somebody you work with, Jenna, and I will not going to release the details yet, but I'll tell you privately, which I'm pretty excited about. And that will be another monthly show. So
I want to know.
I gotta say, I really love doing this, like a lot.
Yeah. Well, so I actually have a whole bunch of stuff coming in. I have a desk coming in, and I've had some help getting some computer parts, and so my life is going to get much easier to do this stuff. And I'm actually coming up with another show as well. But it's really building off of a show that I already have, because I already have Genesis, Just Keep Breathing, the morning meditations. That's one part of it. One part of it is mindfulness and meditation, and then the other part of it is going to be prehab. And so I think I mentioned it last week, and I said that I was going to have an episode out this week. But certain things happened, life happens. And now I have all these, like the desk and everything coming in this week. So I'm getting going, but that's the thing, is when you are spending all of your time volunteering or trying to build a community, you're doing good things. And if you don't get everything done in the exact order in which you want to get it done, whether you're doing podcasts, whether you're doing, just moderating chats, whether you're doing, producing, whether you're doing behind the scenes stuff, or even if you're just tweeting hashtags, that's a form of activism. Sharing things is activism. And then there's a whole bunch of different kinds of activism. I did a little bit of research before we got on here, and this is just one. We're just doing the internet activism. All of us, anybody watching this, we're promoting not atheism here. We do happen to be prominent atheists who are building an atheist community, but we are also more importantly trying to build a conclusive community. We're trying to build a community that everybody is welcome. Granted, you don't start disrespecting everybody, so we are really happy that you're all here and engaging and being your own activists in your own way. And can't thank y'all enough. So what we'd really, really like is for y'all to call in and tell us your own experiences with activism, because there are so many different kinds. There's so many different experiences, different conversations, different things that you've learned, different tips that you can offer each other. This is a team thing. Activism is always, it's really hard to do it by yourself. I'm not going to say always. It's really hard to do it by yourself. But it's really good for your mental health, I think, as a layman, to take breaks, right?
See,
yeah.
this is where I have this like conflicting thing, because there are things that I do need to take breaks from. Like this past weekend, on Friday, I was like, I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm taking a break from my messages, because I have this, when somebody sends me a message, for me, I get not anxiety from receiving a message, but anxiety for not responding in a timely manner. Like, to me, it's
Yeah.
all like, if I don't reply to someone, it's just sitting here in the back of my head until I reply. But this isn't just with that, it's with everything. Like with my job, there are times my boss is like, dude, you got to slow down. Or he'll be like, you have a deadline of 2 weeks. And then 2 hours later, I'm like, it's done. He's like, why? I'm like, because it's sitting over my head. I can't have stuff just hanging there. So Friday, I was like, I'm totally taking a break from DMs this weekend. But I only took a break from, there's still, of course, people I respond to because my business, like whatever you want to call this, YouTube activism, is primarily online. So I do still have to respond regularly to some people. I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah. And on the flip side, like these shows, there are times, Jenna, where I'm having a horrible day. And then I do this show or the show with Hannah or the perspective. And then at the end, I'm just like, oh, like I just like, it's like the oxytocin in my brain goes wired, my stress goes away. So while it can create more stress doing these shows, the alleviation, or what would it be called? The release I get from doing them is unreal. Like I will say, if I didn't have these shows during COVID, I do not know how I would be. Like this is something that has been so prevalent in my life, and it's why I'm able to just keep going, like show, because it makes me feel good because it's not only a release for me to talk about things I've always wanted to talk about. It also plays into the entertainment portion because I get to, be out there talking to people, making people laugh, having fun. And then additionally, it's the idea that I'm making a difference and making an impact on people is like gas in my tank. Like when you get that one message from somebody who says they made a difference, it's like you just like refilled and reinvigorated, and it's just like I'm making a difference. And the only time in my mind I will quit is when I am incapable of doing more good than harm, or when I'm no longer helping people. If that time comes, then I will recognize that I need to step down. Or if I start getting like overly crabby or angry, if that happens,
it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah.
Well, but the way that I think about stress is kind of the way that I think about working out. Right. So again, just a layman, not a biologist by any means or anything like that, sports professional or anything. But when you're working out, you are literally tearing your muscle apart. And then it's afterward that your body is basically building scar tissue over that muscle, making it bigger. And then after it rebuilds itself, then you tear it down again, work out, and then you rebuild again. And that's how you build muscle.
I don't think that's accurate.
No?
So if someone in the comments could correct it. So from my understanding, scar tissue is actually a bad thing and not helpful to your body. Like it's harmful, it can cause you pain. But when you're working out, you make these microscopic tears, and then your body heals those microscopic tears and becomes the tissue becomes stronger.
Isn't that scar tissue?
I don't think so.
That's interesting. Okay, I'd really like to know. But basically, you are still tearing, whether it's microscopic or whatever. You are tearing and rebuilding. And that's kind of how I look at stress is, thank you, is when you are, yes, you are hurting yourself. You're wearing yourself out. That's what stress is. But in the meantime, when you take a break, you can build, you can grow off of that. And after you get used to it, that kind of cycle, you get better and better and better at it. And it gets easier and easier.
That's true. I forgot where I was going to go with this, but yeah, it's like this. The more I do this, the more I can, like, okay, on one end, I want to give up the producing side of it when I'm on screen, but at the same time, I love doing it, and I'll admit it. I am a little bit, when it comes to like things like this, of a control freak, where I'm like, nope, I want things done this way, like this, and I don't want to deviate from that because personally, I find the most effective way of doing things. And this actually goes into where I have to bite my tongue at times, because I, for one, like, it's not just religion, it's anything. I find like holes in processes at work. And there are times you're working with someone like, well, I just want it done this way. And it's like, well, why? Well, they say they just want it done that way. And I'm like, okay, but can you explain why? Because right now I have this great alternative that works better than your method. And there are times I see other atheist YouTubers, like certain things they do, and I'm like, I got to message them and let them know they should be doing it like this. And I'm just like, I'm just going to bite my tongue because I get myself into trouble. You know, this past week, I saw a meeting getting put together, and here I am immediately like, so the way you're doing this, I don't think is the most effective. Unfortunately, I think you're prone to getting more trolls, and I would love to jump in and help you do it like this because blah, 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 blah. And it's like, unfortunately, and this is everybody. People have trouble with somebody telling them they're doing things wrong. And that includes atheists too. There's plenty of crabby atheists out there who absolutely do not want to be told by some younger YouTuber that they're not doing things effectively. But that's the thing. Like, for me, if it's true, it doesn't matter if I'm wrong or right. If I'm wrong, okay, cool. Like, I care about truth. If I'm giving you marketing tips, it's not because I'm trying to be like, hey, I know everything. It's because, hey, I did marketing for a long time, so I have a really good idea on the most effective way to grow a channel.
Oh, wait. So you think you're supporting what you did right now still?
Sorry, what do you mean?
I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that you learned from that.
Oh, yeah. I've learned throughout my life that I have to bite my tongue because
Okay, yeah.
And it does frustrate me at times, because for me, when somebody's like, dude, you like, I saw you did this on YouTube, this isn't like right. I'm like, oh, sweet, let me fix it. Like, that's how my mind works. I immediately want to correct the things I'm doing incorrectly. But not everyone sees it like that. And I learned that at a very young age, because I would call out teachers in jobs. I would call out bosses. I would do it politely, but I'm just like, hey, this isn't effective. Here's the better way to do it. And I don't know. I wish people would be more receptive to when they're doing things wrong. So I force myself to bite my tongue. And honestly, I don't think I should have to do that.
Well, you know how you could do it in a way that's not so, let me tell you because I know better.
Yeah.
Maybe you could just ask them, would you like to know what I would do?
Oh, sorry. I probably framed that poorly. I don't just rush in and be like, hey, I'll be like, hey,
Okay.
I saw this. Do you mind if I talk to you about it? Or I have some questions for you. I'll always put a soft opener out there.
Yeah, if you're reaching out and inviting them to a conversation like that, and then they take you up on it and then get mad at you, that's not cool. if if you're just putting the invitation out there, you're doing your job. You're screening the process. You're not violating anything. You're not doing anything wrong in responding.
I hope not.
No, I mean, just to reach, I mean, that's friendly. You're the friendly atheist. Expect that you're going to reach out to somebody. Like, and reaching, what is wrong? You're right. I don't see anything wrong with reaching out. I see something wrong with openly criticizing, uninvited criticism, unwelcome criticism, whatever it's called.
I want to address this. So,
okay.
It's not, there are things I'm not confident in, and there are things I am confident in. And if I have found a more effective way to do something, it's not arrogant to be honest and admit that, hey, this is a more effective way of doing something. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's not like I go through every aspect of my life like, I know this, I know this. No, but there are some things that I know what I'm doing on. Could I be wrong? Of course, I could be wrong about anything, but
Right.
I've got years of experience to back up. And I don't just do this on anything. It's only on confidence, on topics that I am more than reasonably confident on. And if it's arrogant to admit you know what you're doing, then
So be it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. But I do believe we have a caller. I'd really like to talk to him
Oh,
about
yes.
his experience as a major awesome activist that I personally adore.
Rick, we should have just had you come on to StreamYard and come on the screen so we could see that sexy face.
Yeah.
Rick, you're on with Ethan and Jenna. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. I haven't talked to you in forever.
I know. And I trimmed my goatee, so I was expecting to be on camera, but that's neither here nor there. Listen, I definitely wanted to call in, guys, because this is as you both probably are aware, this is, an important kind of topic, and it's something that I've been engaged with both of you for over the past year. Mm-hmm. And to highlight activism and even in the mental health that it may take have a toll on. I really wanted to commend both of you for the activism that you have stepped up to the plate and presented over the course of last year with all that has taken place in our society, in our country, and just in our world. For me, it has given perspective that there are people out there that are willing to fight, stand up, and speak out in any way, shape, or form, and however they can. So hats off to the both of you for all of the work that you have done and continue to do. And even with this particular show, highlighting mental health as something that needs to be discussed and brought to the forefront. You guys do an amazing job, and I appreciate it. If no one else is saying they appreciate it, I'm sure they are, but I definitely do.
Well, thank you, Rick. And for those that don't know, Rick is one of those friendly neighborhood atheist approved Christians. Like really. Yeah. I've worked with him for quite a long time now. Before that, we were just karaoke buds. He would come to my shows all the time. But I have learned so much about racial issues in working with Rick Lockhart, and it has been tremendously beneficial to my development. Additionally, Rick Lockhart is one of the people that helped inspire my friendly approach, because when I had booked the interview with Rick, I was still in debate mode. Like, atheists have to debate, so I have to debate this guy, and I'm sitting there like, dude, Rick's too nice. I can't debate him. He's just like a nice guy. So it kind of from there was like just have the conversation, be yourself. And he was one of the influencers of that. So Rick, I thank you for your help.
I want to thank you too. But I'll let you respond to him first.
I was just going to say I appreciate that. Thank you.
So Rick, I actually have a couple episodes of Atheistasis with him, and I have learned I am so excited when I learn something like this, because then I get to correct it. I've learned that I grew up in a very, very small, very predominantly white town. And I realized after having some conversations with Rick about racism, I discovered a couple of flaws in my own way of looking at things. And so I really, really, really appreciate what I've learned from you. I think that you've helped me shift my perspective in a way that I can't even describe. So I really, really, really thank you for that.
Well, that's what activism is, right? That's what we're doing. And,
yes.
We'll continue to do it as soon as we relaunch in Black and White for season 2. That's what I'm just going to call that, season 2. We'll continue to grow, learn, and change our communities and our perspectives in our world. So again, great job to both of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for all the hard work that you do.
Thank you.
Rick, are you by chance available next Sunday at 11 a.m.? Because we wanted to tackle racial issues and mental health. I'm totally putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Well, with the new restaurant opening environment that I'm about to get into, shout out to Cooper Sock in Morton Grove. I think I'll be available next Sunday. That's the only weekend. I think, one of the very few weekends that I'll actually have off as we kind of get into that new restaurant opening environment. But yes, I do believe I will be available to jump on and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, then check this out.
It'd be an honor.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So let me know once you know for sure. So we can get it set up.
I'd like to know what you do to recuperate between because you do a lot of activism as well, interviews and things, and I'd like to know what you do.
Well, and I'd also like to point out that for those that Rick, please, if I'm speaking out of term, correct me. This is I'm going to try and explain this to my best understanding. Jenna and I have an advantage. While we can't turn off our atheist label, we can walk into a crowd without people knowing we're atheists. So we have the ability to not be in, I guess, atheist mode all the time, or shut off that part. You deal with racial issues, and it's not like you can step away and you're not Black all of a sudden. You have to deal every day in every crowd. So does that make it more difficult? And am I drawing an accurate analogy of the situation?
3 questions at once. Let's go.
All right. Well, to first candidly answer Jenna's question, since she posed the question first, I'll circle back to yours, Ethan. Jenna, to answer your question, I drink. No, I think for me, there's a few things, right? There is, of course, the adult beverages, but that just is who I am professionally. But there's also time to, sometimes, as Ethan pointed out, the streaming is a sense or source of, or can be a source of relief, right? It can be a chance to kind of speak out and put some energy behind something that I'm passionate about, and that helps. You know, that I tell people all the time that In Black and White probably saved me mentally more than people realize, because it was launched during a time where we were in quarantine, where, you know, racial and civil unrest was taking place and attacks in the Black community were being seen. And even, you know, I was unemployed because of COVID. And I wasn't able to get back to work for several months. So In Black and White, that streaming gave me a sense of ability to do something. So I think that my recovery also would incorporate kind of taking a step back from social media at some points, you know, and not engaging certain conversations. You know, all of that, I think, is what kind of helps with the with kind of the mental health recuperation that needs to take place or needs to happen when you're kind of out there being in activism. And I'm let me be the first to say I'm not nearly as out and as prolific as some other people that are doing amazing work. Like my sister, as you all have seen on In Black and White, the last episode that we did, who's a Chicago pediatrician. Right, the work that she does, I look at her like, you need to take a break. Like you're gonna fall apart. And you know, sometimes it's just taking a step back and kind of breathing and not engaging. To Ethan's question, you posed it correctly. That is definitely an analogy or an analysis that's correct. While I'll even accompany it to being gay. Right, I can go into a crowded area and engage with people. And I get all the time, I never knew you were gay, right? Mm-hmm. There are certain aspects of or qualities and characteristics that we may be able to turn off, but being Black is not one of them, right? And you know, people of color, especially Black people, say this all the time. You know, when we talk about Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter, blue lives is not a thing because you take a blue uniform off, which, let's just clarify, all the police uniforms are not blue. But anyway, I digress. You can take that uniform off. Right, that uniform is removed, and again, you can go into a crowded area and people not know that you're a police officer. Right. I can't walk into a place and people not know that I'm Black. Right. I'll share it with you real briefly here that when I used to work in a position that I was on the phone, I would make it a point to try to not even sound Black, because, you know, growing up, that was a thing, right? If you were well spoken and you had education and you could, as my grandfather would say, speak the King's English. You know, that meant something. And there's a kind of a mindset or stereotype that comes with that. And trying to deprogram or relearn or deal with that is a sense of trauma. So, you know, what we're left with is having to fight this kind of struggle, these perceptions, these stereotypes and racism at all fronts. And it's overwhelming. It's exhausting, but it's something that I can't turn off being Black, so I can't turn off or stop fighting against racism.
But you could also you could go to your room and play some loud music and bang on some drums, you know.
Well, I think my neighbors wouldn't really care for me banging on drums. Loud music, especially when I'm driving in the car. You know, I'm in Milwaukee training, and my drive from Milwaukee to Chicago does include me in full concert with the music all the way up. Sometimes I'll roll the windows down so other people can share in the experience. But yes, those are certain things that I can do too.
Yeah. So do you do anything special? Like, do you journal, or do you exercise a certain way, or a certain amount, or is there anything that you do?
I don't. That's for me, no. That's it's just kind of taking life day by day. Like that's really all that's what's been working for me. I did get into therapy over the course of last year. That's helped tremendously too. But that's really kind of it. It's just that's what works for me personally, right? Not for, I can't say or speak for anyone else, but for me, yeah, that's just kind of what I do. Take each day as it comes.
Well, I guess it sounds to me the kind of the way that you're describing it. It sounds about accurate. You know, you're saying that it is the activism itself is a release because you're sending out these ripples. You know, you're making a difference, and that's ultimately what I've learned is the majority of people's goal in life is to make a difference, right? To have an impact on someone or something. And so that I guess you can kind of look at it like I was actually talking to my mom earlier, and she was. We're talking about pregnancy, and I was like, I'm a little afraid of the labor because I don't handle pain very well. She was like, well, you ran in high school, you know, you can handle pain pretty well. I was like, well, no, in high school when I ran, it didn't hurt. I was releasing stress from my body. It didn't hurt. I ran because I felt better. So it's almost like kind of like the activism itself is its own exercise.
That's a great analogy too. Or analysis. You're right. That's kind of very similar in the mindset for me when it comes to streaming. So can't wait to get In Black and White back up and going to have that therapy all over again.
Yay.
I did love doing In Black and White with you because not only was it informative and educational for me, but you and I, man, when we're on camera, we click so well together. And additionally, I got to be more, it's not that I can't be political now. I guess I'm still pretty political, but it was political focused. However, you know, it's, I will say this, it's nerve-wracking talking racial issues. And I can only imagine how it is for you. Rick, I forgot where I was going with this.
Well, you were saying how much you missed being on camera with me, and you can't wait to get back on the show with hosting with me. That's what you were saying. I'm feeling like that's where you were going.
We did have a fun, great show, and then we did those round tables with Trump supporters, and man, that was mentally exhausting. I was just, oh no.
I will say, Ethan, that the feedback that I've gotten several times when you left to take a little bit of a hiatus was, where is that Ethan? We need him back. You all are so great on camera together. Like that was a consistent comment that kept coming up. So I can't wait to have you back on as the co-host with me. And I can't wait to get the show back up and running. It will be coming back very soon. So stay tuned for that. But again, like I said, guys, keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for the work that you're putting in.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
My, you know, Lori, my ex-wife, that's like the one show she loved. Like she was not happy when I stopped doing it. She's like, I want to see you and Rick on In Black and White every week. It's the one show I enjoy. So, yeah, I got so much shit from her when I stepped away.
I've got to share a link to In Black and White if I can find it.
Anyways, Rick, thanks for calling in, and then let us know about Sunday.
Absolutely will do, guys. Have a great rest of your show. Thanks so much.
Thanks for calling, Rick. Hey.
Rickianity right there. One of the things I did want to talk about is in the early days of this, there were times where I didn't understand why some atheists would be like so snappy and to the point. And I,
Mm,
you know, what the hell? Like, dude, just be calm, be friendly all the time. But what people don't understand, and I don't want to, I want to be very careful how I word this. I'm using the word. I don't even want to use that word because I feel like people are going to take it the wrong way. Let's just say when you are in the public eye, you open yourself up to scrutiny. That's, of course, it's going to happen. It's something you have to accept. But when you are talking these topics, you get put into, I don't know any other way to describe it outside of saying like debate mode. You are constantly on the defense. You have to be, you have to be mindful of what you post because at any second, someone's going to lash out. There are Christians that come at you pretty damn hard at times and pretty viciously. And when you're having to justify and explain your own existence, or just try and, like, when you get some of these Christians that will be like, challenge claim you're immoral because you're not a Christian like them. That could be, it's like, what the fuck? Like, for me, like, I know I'm a moral person. I'm not perfect, but when I do something, I reflect on every conversation. When I do something bad or when I hurt somebody's feelings, it eats at me like so much. So when I hear this, you're not a moral person, I get frustrated. Like, dude, you have no idea the shit I feel guilty about. So when you're in this constant defense mode, it really can be exhausting and make you more stressful and make it easier for you to bring that anxiety into the conversation or assume where they're going with it. So
yeah.
in the beginning, it was very easy for me to be like, why aren't these people staying calm? Just be friendly. I now recognize that while I prefer the friendly approach, I understand why some snap, more often, because it can be hard.
Yeah.
Because we're not just having these conversations on camera. We get, sorry, yeah, I can say we get messages all the time. And I, for one, will get messages from people from every religion. Well, why this? Why can't you explain this? Why aren't you like this? And it's like, oh my God, just give me a
Yeah.
break. And now I've noticed, which at first I loved, now I'm not so certain I love it anymore. It is when I go on a date or when I meet someone, this is the primary thing that comes up. Like, we'll spend 2 hours talking about my channel, and sorry, not 2 hours. We'll spend plenty of time, and I'll eventually, but can we move? Let's move on to something else. Talk about you. And I get people are inquisitive and want to talk about it, and I take it as a huge compliment. But when every person I go out with only wants to talk about this or like talk about religion and politics, it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that all day, every day. Like, I want to talk about other things too.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, yeah, I get often put in a position where it's like, that's all they want to talk about. And it's like, can we please talk about something else that's less mentally strenuous, particularly when you start hearing those really bad arguments and you're like, no, not in my personal life. No, nope. I'm patient, but I don't want to be laying on the couch watching a movie, breaking down the Kalam cosmological argument or explaining someone why their evidence doesn't meet the burden.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but not only that, it's, for example, if you make one post and it gets a lot of action, and that's good, right? You want people to see it, right? You get a lot of people engaging, but then every single person that's engaging is tagging you in it, right? And then every person that's responding, you're getting a notification about those too. And so you get on and you have like 50 notifications or more each time you open the app. And it's not like you have time to go through and click on every single one and respond to every single one every single time you open the app. And then when you go back the next time, it's not, it doesn't highlight all of those anymore because you've already seen them. Right. And so there are a lot of times where I'll be having a conversation with somebody and then I'll just stop because I lose the conversation, literally, or if I don't respond to somebody. But so I guess just be mindful, just everyone in general, be mindful that people when you start engaging in activism, it's almost like you have to put like this separate hat on. You have to be able to stop and take a deep breath. You have to be able to reconsider, okay, well, instinctively it feels like they're saying this, but what are they actually saying? And I actually, the other day I was on Twitter and I was having a bad day. Imagine you've been doing this for a little while. You're on several shows and then, you're moving and you're pregnant and then the power goes out for a week and all this stuff. And then you're on Twitter and somebody's nagging at you and calling you personal names and all this stuff. It's like, I snapped at somebody and I was really dry and sarcastic back to someone. And they responded, they're like, how did you even get that off of what I said? And I was like, I read it and I was like, you know what? I don't know what I was reading. Maybe I was responding to someone else in my head. I don't know. I'm sorry. What I meant to say was this, but I guess just keep in mind and try to be a charitable listener,
It's far too often. And again, I'm not perfect at this, but people bring their baggage or their insecurities into a conversation. So to give you an example, I was arguing with someone online. They were, I don't remember if I brought this up last week or sometimes the shows blend together. So if I spoke to you about this, Jenna, go ahead and interrupt me. I don't have to continue. But basically, they were trying to say that Christians are arrogant, but atheists are never arrogant. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not true. She's like, no, atheism by definition is not arrogant. I'm like, that's not true at all. It has nothing to do with that. And I get where she was trying to go, but in addition, she was like, all Republicans are evil and do nothing. And I was like, and I'm thinking of like some of my family members and friends who are Republicans, who are, in my opinion, misinformed, but they still do everything they can. They'd give you the shirt off their back. They donate to charity. They do volunteer work. Like they do as much as they can to help people. So my reply was, I'm sorry, I know a bunch of Republicans who do all this. I'm like, what do you do for people outside of just sit here and tear them down? And do you know where she went? You're a horrible person. You're poor shaming me. And I'm like, poor shaming? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, money has nothing to do with this. Well, because all Republicans are rich, they have the financial means to do things. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I know plenty of poor Republicans. I'm like, and again, this has nothing to do with finances. What you can talk to somebody on the phone. You can pick somebody up. Like there are so many, you can go volunteer at a shelter. You don't need money to help. And she's like, no, this is unacceptable. You're poor shaming me. It's like, so people so often will bring their past baggage or their insecurities into a conversation. And once they do that, it can be incredibly difficult to fix the conversation because they're already angry because they think you're saying something they're not. And it's like, you just want to be like, dude, you're being dishonest right now. But do they know they're being dishonest? Are they intentionally being dishonest? Or did they just misunderstand what you said?
I mean, I guess it depends case by case, but I think that it really, really helps me to give people the benefit of the doubt from the beginning, yet remain honest throughout, and update my opinions of people as I go, in the sense that I don't necessarily know them. I know where they are right now, in the sense of if they're being really angry and yelling at me, that doesn't mean that they're a hateful person.
Right.
It could mean that they're having a really bad day, and so what I try to do is to engage in this street epistemology type method from the beginning. Try to ask, what do you mean? Do you mean this? And are even, taking like just a humanist approach. Are you okay? I don't know what I did to make you think that I'm immoral, but I'd really like for you to see a better side of me. What can I do to change your opinion? If it matters, because that's the other thing is unless I've decided that your opinion matters to me, it really doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I know. So anyway, activism, there are many different types of activism. I just want to list them off just so that we include not just the internet people here. But there's judicial and citizen activism, people who like whistleblowers. There's people who will refuse. Oh, sorry. There's environmental activism where you can kind of donate to saving forests or wildlife. Internet activism, which obviously we covered. Activism in literature, where you write books, whether it has, metaphorical language or it's political or it's, emotional. And then there's economic activism, where you can like refuse to buy Chick-fil-A because they're anti-LGBTQ type thing. What?
I have actually, since I was buying Chick-fil-A for a while, but then I was like, the food's not even good. Why am I going to support this churchy organization? Like, no thanks. Oh, yeah. Real quick, good news. I just got an update mid-show. So next Sunday, we are doing mental health and racial issues. Mandisa Thomas just confirmed that she will be available. So she will be a guest on our show. And she asked if she could invite her colleague, who is a mental health professional. I don't want to say the person's name only because she obviously has to ask that person first, but we may have a mental health professional to help discuss these racial issues next week.
So then we would have Mandisa, a professional in this field, and Rick, a friendly Christian, to have this beautiful conversation.
The friendliest Christian.
Yes, I am so excited about what I'm going to learn.
Yeah, that'll be a great episode. But I took us totally off track for a second. You were about to say something.
Oh, I don't remember. That's okay. About something else.
If you want to offer your input on mental health and activism, call the number at the bottom of the screen, 708-554-7836. This is an incredibly... Oh, go ahead, Jenna.
No, go ahead.
This is an incredibly rewarding thing to do. And I love every minute. And to be entirely transparent, I do hope one day that I can do this full time. And because honestly, if I look how much I'm doing right now, if I was able to make this my full-time job, it would just be whoosh, like there'd be so much more. Like I want to build. I can say this. I want to build like an atheist network. Imagine 24-hour skeptic news or skeptic content. Like to me right now, that's one thing. We need media sources that just give you the facts without all the baggage attached. And I would love to be able to one day put together a full-on atheist or skeptic news network where we are just giving you the information, and we're not, while we may offer our opinions, we are not trying to mold or manipulate you in any way, or we're not only cherry picking things we want to, that fit our narrative. Like you'll hear criticisms of both sides. You'll hear successes of both sides, because there are people that shouldn't say pretend. There are people who will say like Republicans don't do any good. And that's not true. It's painting with a very broad brush. So yeah, I mean, I have so many ideas I want to put together. And the only thing limiting right now from doing more of these is my time. And that's what I want to do. That's where I'm at.
Well, so when I started learning, basically at the stage of my life where I was really bored, I was working as basically an administrative assistant in the oil and gas field, right? So I'm working for an organization that, as I started learning, I became more and more personally anti, right? So I'm like, I had to kind of consider, I'm like, do I want to spend my entire life working for a field that is destroying the environment while being an activist on the side, talking against this stuff? And it's just kind of interesting. If anybody can, I'd really like to hear someone's thoughts on working and profiting from an organization or some kind of idea that you are personally against. If we have any atheists that work for a church, for their income, or if there's anybody that has to live with that kind of cognitive dissonance of profiting from something that you don't support,
Right.
Because I know there's a lot of people that have to do that, because we can't necessarily all be picky about where we get our money from. And so
Nope.
it's really, really like that's, I guess, the American dream, is to be able to dedicate your time and actually profit from something that you really believe in, something that you support fully. And I love the skeptic approach. I to be honest, I do believe, and this is my own personal not recommendation, but my own personal preference. I really like listening to National Public Radio, NPR. I think that they are, for the most part, pretty non-biased. It is, of course, a little left-leaning, but with that in mind, for the most part, they do just offer the facts. And they interview people with different views. They interview Republicans on there all the time, and it's not hostile. It's not attacking. So just if anybody is looking for something that is out there right now, it's not necessarily a skeptical news source. I would love to support a skeptical news network. SNN.
SNN, there we go. Skeptic News Network.
SNN,
As long as I can continue on the path I'm continuing, I will find a way to make that happen. Just need to continue to grow, get more people involved.
That's funny.
It's so much fun.
So I love that you want to kind of promote the skepticism as is this kind of like your dream that you're sharing with us right now? Like this is your goal?
I don't want to just build a community. I want to build a network of people working together, and imagine a news organization that focused on truth, community building, and humanism, where that news network isn't just, of course, there's going to be profit. I would never pretend that there's not, because you need money
right,
to be able to produce content, to pay people,
mm-hmm.
And to continue improvements. But imagine one that put money back into the community, that was regularly doing volunteer work, because atheists don't have churches. I'm sure there's a couple atheist churches. I take that back. But we need to have more outreach programs available. And I would love to use that and work with, the Secular Therapy Project and RFR, and just build this massive atheist empire.
I want to contribute to that atheist empire
that can legitimately make an impact on the world.
Yeah.
To me, the only thing right now missing in the atheist community, which I believe I am fully capable of bringing to the table, particularly if you saw my Recovering from Religion fundraiser, you saw how many people I got involved. I am very good at uniting people around a cause. And once I have the time, availability, and financial resources, I am absolutely going to do this, because that's what we need. We need more atheist bridge builders, or people that know how to make things happen. For me, when I have a show idea, there are people that are like, well, we got to think it out. We got to wait. We got to do this. No. I have a show idea. I'm going to make it work. Let's start running with it. And I make that shit happen as fast as possible.
Well, so to contribute to that, I'd like to work with you and the same people and the ACA and everyone. And so I've learned a lot about, so we're mental health focused here. You and I tend to be interested in this kind of a topic. I went to rehab and I went to AA, and there's a lot that I learned in those organizations, and a lot that I think can be done better. I know that there are some secular AAs, basically like secular support groups. But what I am kind of looking at building is like a replacement of AA, in the sense of it's not alcoholic. It's not for alcoholics. It's for people who are struggling with life, because I don't think that because it's just what I've learned in AA. I think so many people could benefit from that kind of a forum without having to be an alcoholic. Because all you do in that room is you just sit there and you just share your struggles, and you don't have to worry about anybody responding to you. You don't have to worry about crosstalk. I think, and everybody can just kind of listen and take it for themselves and kind of learn from you and from what you learned, and take what they want and leave the rest. And so many people are talk that you're like, oh man, you did something horrible. Well, that's their own thing, you know, that's what they're learning. And I think that we would have a much healthier society and less people in need of AA and rehab if we could prevent ourselves from getting there. So that's where I'm going with kind of the prehab concept of, is just ultimately helping yourself when, you know, there are so many people right now that are just struggling getting day to day. There's so many natural disasters happening left and right, and people are struggling. Like, there's the money issue here in America, the homelessness. I mean, there's just so much going on. But we do have another caller.
But before we get to that, I actually want to
sorry.
So, and Jenna, maybe you have some input on this as well. So at least in America, from what I've seen, skeptic is largely viewed as a negative. Like, there are so many, you know, think about how many times someone says too skeptical, or skeptics just aren't open-minded. I cannot tell you how many times I've had a conversation with somebody where I'm sorry, like trying to explain like why they should be skeptical, and skeptical, they just don't want to believe, they just want to argue. And it's like, no, like, that's not true. Skeptics don't just want to argue. Yes, there are skeptics who do want to argue, but that's skepticism. If you are someone who just argues or attacks everything, then you're not really a skeptic, because it's asking questions and trying to understand what the truth of the matter is. So
there's a difference between skepticism and cynicism.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on one end, having the Skeptic News Network could prevent from it could be harder to gain traction, because people will see skeptic and be like, oh, but then at the same time, putting the word skeptic out there goes to help normalize it. That's like kind of like with my channel. The word atheist is in it, which I don't know if you know, but YouTube, one of the red flag words for YouTube is atheist. So even my channel name having the word atheist in it makes it harder for it to get out there. So on one end, like, I want to be like, well, I want to normalize atheism, so my channel should be called Atheism, because I'll help normalize it. But then on the other end, I'm like, well, I'm going to be getting less views because atheist is in the title, so maybe I should change it. So there's a lot to it.
Well, basically, the way I see it is that skepticism should be a default position. It's not left or right. It's not telling you anything. It's all about asking and figuring out where you go. So yeah, rather than zeroing in on the humanism or the atheism or something specific, I think that's a really good idea to start with the skepticism and leave it level for everybody. And like you said, normalizing the word. I think we're all trying to do that.
Agreed. All right, let's get our next caller. Harry,
Yay.
You are on with Ethan and Jenna. How's it going?
Hi, Harry.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I talked to you guys once before, way back.
Awesome. Thanks for calling back.
I don't remember, but thank you for calling back.
Yeah. No, so you were like looking for someone who worked in a field that they didn't agree with, and et cetera, et cetera. So one of my many jobs, I actually worked in a gun manufacturing facility. I'm not anti-gun, but I definitely don't like the idea of people getting shot or reckless shooting or wars. And we manufactured guns for the military, and I totally didn't agree with what it was. And it was one of those things like, the only job in town, and I need the money. So, so any questions you got on how you deal with that, sure, I'll talk about it.
How long did you work there?
Oh, about 4 years.
Wow. So did you have to do something particular to get home to kind of decompress, or did you just dissociate, or?
It just got buried. It was like, because I was indirectly doing it to somebody, but always in the back of my mind, I knew there are innocent people being killed with what I'm doing. And it bugged me.
So is that the reason that you quit or left?
Well, ironically, Obama got elected, and the owner of the gun manufacturer went totally crazy and said, "Oh my God, he's going to stop the wars. He's going to blah, blah, blah." And he fired like half the facility and then hired them back at minimum wage because the big recession was going on. And yeah, just crappy stuff. And
I'm really
from
glad
there,
you got out of there.
we got to get out of here. That was like the final straw.
Well, so what did you do after that? I mean, if that was, I'm hoping that wasn't the only thing available anymore, obviously.
Well, we moved literally. We were in Florida, and we literally moved entirely across the country to Puget Sound in Washington, where I got a job temporarily in the shipyard.
That's better, right?
So, did what?
Is that better? Was that better?
It was a lot better. I didn't realize how much it bothered me.
Oh.
Until I got away from it.
Right, because when you're in it, you're in survival mode. You're just trying to survive things.
Exactly.
So what would you say as for advice to anybody that's listening, just from your own personal experience? What would you say if somebody's in that kind of position right now and doesn't have the option to leave?
Well, I guess my best advice, because, okay, when you kind of work in that environment, there's a lot of people who agree with that environment. You almost need to try to make outside friends of that, so you don't get stuck in that bubble.
Right.
Because I had that a lot with my working life. I mean, it's like I worked in fields where there was a lot of people whose political and moral views were completely opposite of mine. And once they find out, and then the shit's on, then you're fighting with them. And then it's like you're working and fighting. And
yeah.
So
create friends outside of it, like go, so I guess how could you do that? Let's say, considering the circumstances right now, there's a pandemic. It's really hard to go out, maybe meet up or something online, like a forum.
Yeah.
I would say like there are times like companies I've worked for where they're doing things I disagree with, and on one end you want to be like, I can't stand for this, but on the other end, there's always going to be companies doing that, and it's difficult to know when you should stand your ground and when you shouldn't stand your ground. Because in my mind, I always want to like stand my ground.
So not necessarily, maybe try not to even bring it up at work, right? To try not to discuss that kind of thing at work, because your finances depend on it, right?
Right. Yeah, and that can be incredibly isolating too, because it's like, okay, so my last job, they weren't doing anything wrong, but I was working with a lot of Trump heads, and the vitriol that would come out of it, just misinformation. It's like, look, no, I can't let that go. It's like, no, you're not going to do economic Darwinism because those are your neighbors.
Right.
You got to educate kids because they're going to wipe your butt when you're in the nursing home, and then the shit got on, and it was like, now I'm like the rabid communist, whereas like before I was like, sort of slightly democratic.
Right. You get kind of ganged up on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Harry, thank you so much for calling in. Did you have any other questions?
No, I just figured I'd put in my little 2 cents and try to help out with you guys.
Thank you,
Cherry.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
Sweet, man. That would be difficult working for like a gun company, because I know for me, I was very pro Second Amendment, and now I'm of the opinion that F the Second Amendment. Like, I'm more into responsible gun ownership, not just, oh, you're 18. Hey, you can have a gun. Like, most people do not have the emotional capacity to stay calm on a Facebook argument, and they want a gun. No, thanks.
Yeah. I know that I couldn't have a gun. I've wanted one for a long time. I was raised in a town that was very pro gun. You know, I used to, for Thanksgiving, we'd shoot skeet or something, you know, but and I like shooting, but when it comes to owning a gun, I don't think that I have the mental consistency to have that access to something like that 24/7. And I think that most people don't. There are some, you know, there are people that that can obviously live with a gun, but to be under the assumption that everybody can just because you can,
Yeah, agreed.
you know.
We were going to wrap up in a moment, but I just saw it looks like IQ called, so we'll make this kind of.
Yay!
Hey, IQ, you are on with Ethan and
All
Jenna.
right.
How's it going?
That was snappy. I'd never been on a list where I was done talking with Kaitlyn. Great.
Hi, IQ, our internet activist.
Everybody today?
Good. How are
Yes,
you?
activism is the name of the game today, and you know I can, with confidence, say that is the antithesis of indifference. Really boil it down to, you know, it's nanoparticles. It's no longer holding your tongue. It's no longer sitting on your ass. And there's one thing that I wanted to bring up with you, Jenna. You had named off now that's just activism in its barest form. Now there's a lot of different subsets of different types of activism. There's one thing that you did not mention, and in my opinion, it is the most powerful and profound and effective form of activism. And I coined the term reactivism, and what is better known as the Good Samaritan.
Whoa!
You are out and about. When you are out and about, and you see some woman, help! You know, he's trying to steal my car, and there's like, you know, some woman that's fighting with somebody in a vehicle, and he's like trying to pull off, and people are pulling out their cell phones to make a TikTok, and you keep your phone in your pocket and you go help. That's the most, like, it almost brings tears.
You're right.
To my face, how powerful that form of activism is, because it's like cause effect. You know, it goes from just everything right there in a nice little package, something that needed to be stepped in on right there. You know, activism isn't always banners and, you know, online activism and fighting government. It's sometimes activism is just right there. It's making that one step. It's making that one choice to step in and not just stand in the side and watch something happen. And that's
changeavism
to me. It's not sitting back. It's just stepping in and doing what you think needs to be done.
So the bystander effect. So I try to be understanding, but for me, it's very upsetting, because I was raised that when somebody's being bullied or somebody's being hurt, you step up, you get involved. You do not leave somebody to get harmed. And there are too many people, like you see on camera, like, they're like, why isn't anybody getting involved? And it's like, well, why aren't you getting involved? You're just standing there. Like, do something. And I get that there are times where there is a safety risk, and I understand that. And, you know, especially if someone's got kids, obviously they don't want to get into an altercation with their kids there. But too many people just sit there and do nothing. And I get that it can be shocking. You're like, is this really happening? But when somebody needs your help, you do what you can to help them. And I mean, like, for me, I have a reactionary personality in that sense. Like, I worked in a bar for many years, so I could spot problems before they happen. And when they do happen, bam, it's this funny thing. And this is what I do. I'll have my glasses on when I'm working. And then the second I see something, it's almost like a comedic response, because whoever's next to me, I pull off my glasses and go, excuse me, can you hold these? And then I go running into the stuff. I don't want my glasses broken, but I wish people were more into helping others. And like, I think one of the most horrific stories I ever read, and I apologize for my failing memory, I think this took place in Texas, but I would have to verify that again. But there was an incident at a homecoming. Trigger warning right now. Anybody listening, severe trigger warning. This girl was being molested by one of the, was it not a peer, but a worker in the school. And a group of kids just surrounded and put their cameras on and recorded as she got molested. And she was found hours later, which she never came home, at 5 a.m, naked and bruised up under a bench. And nobody did shit.
You know, there's a like a psychological study that I've heard of, where the how it goes is, you know, you have two people who are trying to go against each other somehow. Like I don't know what they're doing with their I'm losing it. Stop it. Come back. So you're in a competition of some sort, and if you decide to work with the person that is on the other side of this, then you get like X results, right? If you decide to go against them, and oh crap, you know, I'm messing this up. Oh man, what is the study? IQ, you probably know where I'm going with this, about how if you help yourself, you get the most result, but if you work together, you get a little bit less. And then if you work alone, you get a little bit less. And it's a test just to see what people do, because that's kind of how it is. Like, right, when you have, say, the restaurant and somebody's getting picked on, everybody's silent, because that's where they get the most benefit, is to not get any attention brought on themselves. They don't get anybody attacking them. And so they get the most benefit. The second most benefit for these people individually is to speak up and work with this person. And then they get the least benefit for attacking. And so it's kind of interesting to see what people do. I think, honestly,
it also has to do a lot with what your values are. I mean, because, you know, benefit is obviously mainly a subjective thing.
Yes. I obviously messed up that study. Actually, I'm going to ask that everybody forget that I said that.
Empathy and compassion, then you're going to get very little benefit from standing back. Though,
right,
if your values are for safety, comfort, and not to be put into awkward situations, not to be put in the spotlight, not to be inconvenienced at all, then you're going to get maximum benefit by just, you know, keeping your mouth shut. It's about changing our values, and because empathy is a big thing, and it's what makes us a social species, and it's the groundwork of why we are successful, is that we work together. And if you just sit back and your values are just all selfish, that is not in line with why we are successful. We have a lot of help with different technologies, medical advancements and stuff like that, is why we are able to combat diseases. And there's a lot of stuff that helps boost us, right. But really it comes down to collaboration and empathy and understanding each other and being there for somebody else. Teamwork.
Yes.
Teamwork's important.
You know, it's interesting when you watch something like that happening, it's like if everybody attacked this one person who's attacking this person, if everybody around would say something, they would not only learn a lesson. I mean, they would not only stop, but they probably learn a lesson. But it takes that first person to kind of break that. And I'm actually scrolling through my Facebook. I think I'm going to find it in just a second, but there's a picture where there's all these people kneeling in front of this man with a whip. And then one person stands up, and then two more people stand up, and then everybody stands up. And then the person with the whip puts it down. Right. And so if you think of it like that, like if everybody would just say something, like you don't even have to attack this person, just call them out. I just found it, so I'm going to share it now. If you just call them out, that can really have an impact.
Right.
Speaking up can have a profound effect. You don't necessarily even have to step up. Speaking up, just being that voice of opposition, being that voice of reason, just to illuminate, hey, something is wrong here.
Right.
And somebody who was just going to do something and they weren't even thinking about how wrong it was. Maybe they were just acting on selfish reasons or whatever their motives were. This is, I'm just going to do this because this and this and this. And they're completely blinded because, we can all be blinded by moments of passion and selfishness and everything. Just if we're just being reactive, we can be blinded to reason.
Oh, absolutely.
Real easily. And unless somebody steps up and slaps you and says, hey, hold on a second, think about ... Oh, shit. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. Damn. I wasn't even, and it's just that light bulb needs to get turned on sometimes. And a lot of times that's all somebody needs.
Yeah.
Step up. Say something. If anything, just say something. You can spark that person who, does have the courage to step in and get physical.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit. Not everybody has to be the knight in shining armor. Not everybody has to be the person to walk up and kick somebody's ass.
No, of course
just
not.
To do any little part that you can to illuminate that something is wrong. That is activism.
Well, and it's in our own sense, internet activism, what we're doing amongst ourselves is its own form of that, right? Because we are speaking against things that we disagree with in the hopes that it will impact somebody enough to change their mind and stop it when we're not sitting around watching it happen, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways,
if you just let everything flow the way it's going, it's going to keep going that way.
Yeah. So be the ripple, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, IQ.
Indeed.
I appreciate you taking the time to call in.
No problem. Love you guys.
You too.
Thank you, IQ. Good to talk to you.
Well, I think hopefully we didn't miss anything. By the way, to people watching, if there is a topic you would like us to cover around mental health, let us know in the comments or send us a message. We're always looking. We have a list of different topics we'd like to cover, pretty much anything under the umbrella of mental health. And next Sunday, we finally, so even though Jenna and I have a list of show ideas, we never actually think of which one we're going to do until halfway through the week. But this week, we already have our show mapped out for next week. So we're going to have Mandisa Thomas and Rick Lockhart on, and possibly a mental health professional to discuss mental health and racial issues. And that is going to be a fun episode.
Yes. Do you want me to read some of the ones that we have listed just for a teaser, or do we want to save that?
That's a good idea.
So just on the list that we've got of things that are coming up eventually, we've got a lot, but I'm just going to just pick a few that pop out at me. Mental health and self-talk, mental health and, I just clicked out. Mental health and pain management, mental health and exercise, mental health and parents.
It's going to be a good one.
Which one?
Pain management will be a good one.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of different things coming up. And so I'm really excited. Mental health and education, mental health and community, starting over, all kinds of stuff. So that's just a few.
Awesome. And Jenna, what do you have going on this week?
I have my Genesis Just Keep Breathing morning meditations every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Central for 15 minutes, where I meditate with you live so that you can kind of learn how I do it, take what you like and leave the rest, and make it your own. And also kind of to help try to build the habit in case anybody wants to start doing it every day, just because I do, and I might as well share it. I'm also posting Atheostasis again at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, and that will be premiered. So I'll be live in the chat, and then we'll also do Discord discussion after. I'm going to be moving Carrot Noises to Thursdays and a little bit later. So I'm not sure on the time yet, but I'm going to be moving that so that I can kind of do like I work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday kind of thing. I'm going to be working a little bit behind the scenes this week because I'm going to be building the studio, building the desk, putting things together. So I'm going to be a little bit busy off screen, but I'm always around. And I think I'm actually on AXP next week or the next one. So that'll be coming up. Yes.
You're on the Perspective Tuesday.
And I'm on the Perspective this Tuesday. Yes. With Kenneth Leonard.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so excited to see you two paired together. And for those that don't know, The Perspective is a weekly call-in show Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central, where we tackle supernatural claims, paranormal, aliens, and conspiracy theories. This last Tuesday, we had a very interesting call. We had someone who believes being white will soon be criminalized because white people are the most, sorry, I'm not saying this. I'm just saying what the caller said. White people are the most oppressed group.
I would love to talk to that person.
So I'm going to see if he did really enjoy the conversation. I'm going to see if he's willing to call back when you two are on, because I would love to see how you both handle that, a topic like that.
Cool.
And then Thursdays, I have my weekly show with Hannah Vaughn, where we talk sex, dating, and relationships. And then and this Wednesday, for those who don't know, I will be having my 5th and final talk with Joel Sedekase, the presuppositionalist Christian. That will be Wednesday at 7 p.m. We've spoken 4 other times. The last one was incredibly frustrating because it was on the topic of recovering from religion and why he can't support them. And I was getting very upset about his unwillingness to support it. But
I really want to talk about that because I think I understood where he was coming from. I think, and I'm obviously speculating here. I have not spoken to him yet. I would love to speak to him. But just from what I heard from that clip was that he views recovering from religion the way that we view therapy that's not secular. So if he views recovering from religion as a source, kind of like with shit in the dog food, the way that we look at religious counseling.
Right.
So that's just kind of what I got. And I'm like, I can kind of understand how it can appear that way. But I'd really like to talk to him and figure out if I can get down to the bottom of it. Cause the fact that he sees it that way, and if he does, is very intriguing to me. So.
I did reach out to him. He's going to get back to me. He prefers debates. And
I don't.
I definitely said, I'm like, she would prefer more. I'm like, I'm sure she's open to a formal discussion, but she doesn't want like the back and forth debate. She wants open dialogue. I've
never done debate. I've never taken a debate class. I've never studied it. I am not a debater, and I can't organize my thoughts necessarily. I haven't practiced this, at least in a way that I can present my argument in a structure that you can respond, and then I can have a response prepared, because I'm one of those people. It's like, as you say something, I'm like, oh, I think as I go, I guess.
I'm the same way, and I really don't like preparing.
It just seems dishonest, because if I'm assuming that you're going to say this, so I'll have this prepared as a response, then it kind of biases me to assume that you're saying what I think you're going to say, even if you don't actually say that. And so I just feel like it's more honest if I'm just having a conversation with somebody and just kind of going that way.
Right.
But it's everyone's preference.
Thank you to our patrons. Where is that? Kenneth, Leonard, Expresso, Cat, Doanya, and Kaitlyn Beyond. Also, Kaitlyn is our new call screener. So thank you so much for volunteering to help this show. If you like what we do, consider donating for as low as $1 a month. And hey, if you can't donate, that's not a problem. Share, like our videos, do everything we can to help make this channel grow as much as possible. And then also there's our Facebook group, facebook.com/the Ethan and Jenna Show, which currently we are trying to build. Recently, I believe Kaitlyn will be helping moderate that group. And
well, some of you might not know that Ethan actually takes the time to clip each of these shows into calls so that you can view each show in just a few minutes form, kind of like the atheist experience, to where you can get pieces of it. And so if anybody doesn't have the full, hour and a half to listen, but you want to catch a part of it, look for those. And even if you're not sharing those, talk about them, share, if you can, share just your favorite call, and what you learned and how you're going to, improve your own life, and share with us, because I think that's kind of like what IQ said, the background activism, kind of sharing what you're doing, hoping, being the change you want to see in the world. That's like one of my favorite sayings.
Yes,
so
absolutely. Anyways, you can also find us on Twitter, and I hope everyone has a safe and wonderful week.
Thanks.
Oh,
See you
and
later.
I'm heading over to Talk Heath and to call screen, so I'll see you in the chat.